Welcome to paragraph 6 about India, population and migration. In this last paragraph of this chapter, we're going to look at the following things. We're going to look at which part of India the most densely populated is and why, how a better sanitation leads to a lower birth rate, what the composition is of the labor force in India, what the degree of urbanization and the urbanization rate means, what circular migration is, and what the Indian diaspora is. First of all, we're going to look at population density and population distribution. As I told you before, many people tend to live in regions which are important, for example, for agriculture. So that means that coastal plains and the parts of the country around rivers are the most important regions. And I've shown you this population density map before. About 15,000 people live in India per square kilometer. So that means that many people live together in a rather tiny area. This is also a very young population because the population of India, 50% of it is younger than 25 years old. So if you should have a look at a population pyramid of India, you will notice that the bars on the bottom of the graph are the widest and tend to move in smaller. They are becoming smaller the further you go upwards. So that means there are more people in the young age group and less people in the older age group. And if you compare India to the Netherlands, although India does have 1.4 billion inhabitants, it is less dense populated than the Netherlands. So in the Netherlands there are more people per square kilometer than in India. But of course there's a reason for that. India is much bigger. Then development. The development of India goes pretty fast. And you can see that if you look at the amount of births per woman. Because it was some years ago 3.35 and it dropped to 201 and that 205, I'm sorry. And in the Netherlands it is 1.49 this year. And what does this mean? Well, there's what they call some kind of refreshment rate. In what case does this happen? Well, if there are 2 children per woman per year in total, so not that every woman has to get 2 children a year, but if they, the woman in their lifespan, in their fertile lifespan, get 2 kids, it means that the total population of the country stays stable. There's no development, no growth, and no decline. And this is the case in India. So that means that population growth will not get on that faster anymore. So that's great because 1.4 billion people, of course, is a lot. In the Netherlands, it means that our total population is going to decrease. And that's true, but because of migration, our population keeps growing. This is purely natural. What was the reason that the amount of births per woman was that high in India? Well, there was bad healthcare. And that means that the death rate was pretty high. And the more children die when they are young, the less there remain, of course. And the death rate decreases because of the fact that the healthcare started to become better. And, very important, women decided that they didn't want that many children anymore. And because they noticed that, of course, if you got four kids and 2 die, you keep 2. But if they won't die, you do have 4, and maybe that's very expensive. No, that kind of things, that are the things that people were thinking of by that time. So you see that India is changing. And another way to look at the changing composition of India, you have to look at the labor force. And around 80 and 90% of the labor force in India works in the informal sector, the sector which is illegal, and these people don't pay tax, and they aren't registered, so it's not clear for the government whether these people are working in agriculture or whether they are working on the streets and polishing your shoes. If you look at the GDP, the gross domestic product, sector-wise, you can see that services are the most important for the economy. And these are only the legally registered people. So you're talking about people that have a legal job. And 53% of them works in services. So that's great, because services is one of the most important sectors if you're talking about economic growth. So the growth of India will emerge, will become bigger when you're talking about services. Agriculture is still 20% and industry is 25%. If you should compare this with China, you will notice that the industrial sector is bigger than the services sector. And it has all to do with the fact that, of course, in India they speak English, and services like tourism, like call centers, of course, need English as a language, and in China they don't speak English that good. Well, you can see as well that what kind of groups, parts of the services sector people are working: public administration, defense and other services only 15%, the financial, real estate and draft services only 22%, and trade, hotels, transport, communication and services related to broadcasting is 16%. So the financial sector and the trade sectors are the most important, and that's clear. Of course, agriculture, that's only agriculture, forestry and fishing. But you can see in part of the industry, mining, you see that that's only 1.6%. That's not a lot. Manufacturing, only 14%. Construction works, 7%. And electricity, gas supply and other utility services, 2%. So you can see that it's all about manufacturing. You might have noticed that clothes are being made in India. Well, that's being made in the industrial sector. So that's not industry like the industry we know in China. And all this happens in cities. And in that case, we have to look at urbanization.